put the phone down and just absorb and listen to the people who are giving you this opportunity. Yeah? Because those experiences, if you're in the right place at the right time, that is what a lot of my career has been. You know, you are able to then, if you make a good impression on someone and then they're putting together a team, then that person will call you and use you. Gotta like what you do. I think if you're getting too cross and getting too mad, sad or grumpy about it, then it's like, that's probably not.
Yeah.
Don't do something else. Life's too short.
Something else.
You must.
There's too many performers and people in the arts anyway. Welcome back to another episode with the Dive podcast, where each week we interview professional performing artists as we discuss their stories and learn how to navigate the challenges we face as artists. I'm your host, Taylor Scanlon. I'm a musical theatre performer and also yoga teacher and sound healer at the Australian Yoga Academy, where our podcast is held. Today is an exciting day because we have Luke Woodham in the studio with us, who's actually a stage manager. And I wanted to bring him onto the show because whether you are a performer, I think it's really important, no matter where you are within the arts, to understand the behind the scenes, what makes a show, the ins and the outs of rehearsal periods and how to manage stress on the work overload that the role of a stage manager can bring. So if you're interested in stage managing or the behind the scenes of what makes up a show, this episode is for you. Welcome to the show, Luke.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you.
And you.
And I'm really excited today because obviously we were just talking about today's show and how it's going to be a little bit different because you are a fabulous stage manager. So behind the scenes, what has it been like for you? And maybe let's go back and talk about how you kind of got into stage managing, or what was your career like before you got into it all?
Thank you for having me, first of all. It's all I've ever done, really. I was born in the early 80s in Tasmania, and I grew up in there. I went to high school and college in Tasmania and then left Tasmania and came to VCA for a year.
Yeah.
And then left VCA after a year and went to NIDA for 3 years. So that's kind of my training.
Yeah.
And theatre's all I've ever done. I sort of grew up in a theatre. The Theatre Royal in Hobart is the oldest working theatre in the country. And my grandmother was a follow spot operator and a stage manager there back in the day.
On the family.
And the family. And my mum used to work in the box office there as well. So I got taken to a lot of shows when I was really, really young. Like things that I probably shouldn't have been seeing. Like Pina Bausch and other sort of things there, like Philip Jonty, amazing stuff that used to go to Hobart. So got taken to the theatre the whole time, went to a very specific college, which is years 11 and 12 in Tasmania, and had a teacher there who kind of really nurtured performing arts and did a lot of almost a feeder school into VCA and to NIDA, sort of knew how to get students in there. So that's how that all happened. And then I was at NIDA doing a Bachelor of Dramatic Art in Production for 3 years. So that was stage management, lighting, sound, production management, like the whole gamut of things. And the best thing about that was that you just got to practice making art all the time. And also trying to balance your study at the same time. I say a lot, I've never worked as hard as I worked.
Really?
Because it was just constant classes in the morning and then productions in the afternoon. Yeah.
Did they almost give you like so much information so that when you got out and actually started
I think when you go into an institution, the person that you are, you have the tools when they give you the tools for it. So hopefully you have a lot of that skill and the personality when you go in, and then they equip you with all the tools that you need to then come spit out the other end and become a good practitioner. That's sort of what I think. I think I was the same person when I went and came out, but I just had more knowledge of
skill set
of how to do things. The paperwork you need to do to be a stage manager, which is quite endless. And then at NIDA, we did a lot of secondments and placements, work experience kind of things. And so from there, that's where all my work has come from.
Yeah, wow.
Pretty much.
So, and what was the first show that you kind of worked on?
The first big show, my secondment was Lion King, the first time around, which was in 2004.
What was that like?
It was a lot, but it was great. We rehearsed out in Sydney Olympic Park, and where the Easter show is. Yeah. So we're out there rehearsing in a shed with all the puppets, and it was incredible. I did a little bit did my secondment, and then did a bit of work in stage management, and then went away and did another gig, and then went back to Lion King in company management, and then went away again because it played for so long.
Yeah.
And then did a little bit of props as well to the end of the Sydney season. And so then you just sort of get a bit of a reputation going with different production managers, technical directors, and production stage managers. I worked with the production stage manager, Annika Harrison, on Billy Elliot and Boy From Oz with Hugh Jackman. This was like mid-2000s. And then since then, Annika and I just worked together for over years and years and years. So Annika was put onto a show, and then we sort of assemble a team,
Right.
and then she sort of picked me for quite a few shows, and so I've been very lucky. And so I don't want to jinx it, but that's sort of it's a lot about your reputation as well. Like you sort of go in and be nice to people and do a good job and try and do a good job, and then it rolls from there.
Yeah, I mean, we had the joy of working together on Mary Poppins, and yeah, how you ran everything was just so professional, and that obviously comes down to that experience that you had.
Yeah, I think more recently I had a little bit of a break in 2017. I was doing Matilda, and then I just stopped for a while. Took about a year off. And I think that was really beneficial because it was a bit of a reset.
Was it getting a little bit too much and everything?
It was just a bit too much, and I just was finding myself not enjoying it as much. So I just took quite a hard reset. I left the show early. I did the Sydney and Melbourne seasons and then left for the tour portion. And it was probably one of the best things I did, because then when I came back to it later at the end of 2017 to 2018 on Book of Mormon, I had a completely different approach. And it was more just about what the role is and what sort of the best way to succeed in that role. And I think since then, the way I've approached it, and I think my career has gotten better and I've gotten happier doing it, because it's just a different approach, just being like, just have a good time. I think the last sort of 4 or 5 years has shown us all that it's the first thing to go, the arts, unfortunately. If anything really serious happens, it's the first thing to go. So if you approach it with joy and just having fun, because it is a bit of frivolity.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make good money, you can have a great career out of it, but it is the first thing to go. So you may as well have a good time.
I know.
You may as well enjoy it.
It's so sad. Has there been any favourite show that you've worked on?
I'm doing Groundhog Day at the moment, and it's very special. It's a beautiful piece of theatre, and it's a very good group of people. Very hard and very challenging. Tim Minchin was in the other day for our first preview and was saying, well, you don't want it to be easy, you want it to be hard. It's like, it's true. So it's challenging everyone in the Princess, because obviously the day repeats over and over again, but it always gets a little bit different and a little bit shorter and it's all a bit same but different. So the backstage of Groundhog Day, isn't it?
Yeah, wow. Because I guess it's different than a normal show that you do that one scene and then you can put the props back exactly where they were. And
Correct.
It's
literally all the props are attached to the back of the flats of the set, like immediately off stage. And normally you'd have a quick change or a big crossover, which the Princess has.
But it has to repeat so quickly.
Our changes are literally in the wings. Yeah. So where the set would normally go, which we do store the set obviously in the wings too, but there's just chairs and baskets. Because
I guess chaos. As well with normal shows, you have time even in between shows to reset and like go back to the top. Yeah. But you're repeating so frequently.
But it's quite amazing what they like. It's chaos, but it's very organised chaos, and it's very calm now, which is great. But what that sort of company of people is able to achieve every night is unlike anything I've seen before. Wow. And Poppins is great as well. It's a great group of people. With Kismet, when things like that happen, when you get a really good group of people, a great show, it's well received, and it just makes the job so much more easier.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as well, post even COVID, a lot of people are a lot more grateful to be at work, and they kind of just really want to be there.
Generally. No, I think so too. I think there has been a bit of a shift, and every company that I've been part of recently is like slightly competing to be the happiest company,
right?
Which I'm thrilled with. I'm like, great, everyone turn up to work and be courteous and polite and civil to each other. I mean, there's always things. Whenever you get that many people in one place, there's always going to be
a lot of characters.
Things, but I really believe strongly in that sense of company and a sense of family, and that those people can sort of conquer anything. And I've said it to quite a few people about Poppins, is that I think that team could take on any show and hopefully succeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and again, it's about respect, and it's just about treating everyone with kindness. That's a big sort of what I was saying before about the change in my approach. I say this a lot, and I say it to every company I work with now, but it's very much, I approach the job as customer service with costumes. So I feel like my job and the stage management team's job is to service the needs of the company, and to be able to say yes, to make people feel happy and try and spark a bit of joy in their day.
Yeah,
I think it's a great way to approach it, because it just takes away any of that sort of ego which you can get in stage management, I think a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, well, what power do you have?
Because then as well, you're not as approachable when people
Yes,
don't come with their
exactly.
problems or and things escalate when they don't need to.
Yeah, it's a bit like Survivor, but you need to get the information. You need to be able to have people feel comfortable enough to tell you if there are problems, so that then you can put out the fires before it becomes.
Because things happen really quick on shows as well.
Everyone knows everything.
So quick.
So quick. Things, as you say, escalate very quickly. So it's you just gotta get in there and sort it out.
We were just saying there's constant change all the time. Has there been any challenges you've kind of faced in the stage managing, or things that were like more near misses, or any?
I mean, it's can be an inherently dangerous workplace, because working on big shows, there's a lot of automation, which is essentially just machinery. So it can be, I mean, on Poppins we were flying people around, so that obviously adds a layer of complexity. And whenever you've got traps or holes in the floor, obviously that can be tricky and dangerous, but you just need to be very well rehearsed in those moments. But there's a couple of times when Mary didn't fly at the end, and you just, in those situations, you've always just got to say, well, the safety is paramount. So if she doesn't fly, she doesn't fly, and those people, maybe they'll come back. Or we do the plan B flight, which was less, still specky, but not quite as specky. So you just got to have those plan Bs. But it's just about being well rehearsed and safety being the paramount. I mean, you always try and keep going and try to keep the show moving. And if that just means you're cutting elements, or that's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, for you guys, the rehearsal process starts, I want to say, a lot earlier than even like the performers get there. And
yeah, it's usually a couple of weeks before we can sort of get into the rehearsal studios. I mean, the way it works, as I sort of touched on before, is that there'll be a technical director will be assigned to a show. They'll then probably approach a stage manager, whether that's me. We'll then collectively put together a stage management team, which is usually a deputy and 2 assistant stage managers-ish on a big show. Sometimes you can have 1, sometimes 2. That's kind of how that process works. And then a lot of the times that team will go from show to show. And then 2 weeks out from rehearsal, you'll sort of start getting ready, getting the studio ready, starting all your paperwork. Obviously, it does start further back from that as well, because then you've got all the contracting and the producing side of it. So auditions can start a year or more out from a show.
That's crazy.
So and then I don't really know too much. I mean, a little bit about that side of the business, but that producing side is a whole other layer. And then how shows profit and how shows make money. I'm like, how can this possibly make money? But apparently it does. But there's so many people here being paid. But and then we're into rehearsals, and I like rehearsals, but I just like doing them once. Once we get into the season, I'm like, but on a big show, which you'll know very well, being a swing, rehearsals never stop.
No.
And I've done a lot of kids shows as well, Matilda, which I mentioned, and Billy Elliot, and when you've got the kids involved as well, endless. Once you get to opening night, for the principals, yes, you probably won't get called in for many rehearsals, but the stage managers and the crew and all the covers and the swings will be rehearsing constantly. So
sometimes a few days a week on top of the show.
8 shows a week plus at least 2 rehearsals, and then the crew are usually doing a maintenance call on one of those days. So it's a lot. I mean, we sort of average around 55, 60 hours a week. And we work 6 days a week for the most part, which, you just have to get used to. But it's definitely a lifestyle. So if anyone wants to go into this field, it's definitely very rewarding and very beneficial for lots of ways, because you do get your days free, mornings free for the most part. But you are travelling a lot, and which may sound glamorous, but after you sort of stay in hotels or find your own accommodation, it can be a little bit tiring. But I live in Sydney, so I'm on the road a lot. Getting used to it now. Got my cat tours with me now. Yes. Which is lovely.
Need to meet our cats up.
Yes.
I don't know how it would go down. Just by like a fart. Just holding.
Just hold through the bit. Sort of how that happens. And then, the rehearsal process on a big show like Poppins, we were there. We had a week of family rehearsals, so just the household, we called it. And then we had the full company for 4 weeks. And then we tech for about 2 or 3 weeks. Preview or so for about 2 weeks. And then you're open and off you go.
That's it.
Yeah, and then you sort of play for probably between big shows like that, 4 to 6 months in Sydney and Melbourne, and then a few months in Brisbane, a couple of months in Perth, Adelaide, and then a lot of properties are going overseas now. Properties in Hamilton's just been in.
It's been crazy.
Dubai so we've got there's markets around the world. Singapore can't take every show, but can take a few, because obviously we can't say everything, can't swear too much in Singapore. Yeah, it's good. It's a good lifestyle, I think.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, and I think it's the type of personality. If you have the right approach to this side of work, I think the business. I think you can do really well because there's not many people doing it, on that kind of big show level. And I'm not saying not doing it well, but just with compassion and with care, and so I think that those are the key traits. I think anyone can call a show and anyone can sort of do the paperwork and that sort of thing, but I think having that compassion and passion for what you do and liking it, I think that will help.
Absolutely.
Help a lot.
Yeah.
You gotta like what you do. I think if you're getting too cross and getting too mad, sad or grumpy about it, and it's like, that's probably not.
Yeah.
Don't do something else. Life's too short.
Something else.
You must.
There's too many performers and people in the arts anyway. Hey listeners, if you're interested in yoga, Pilates, or even becoming a yoga teacher, I highly recommend you come and check out the Australian Yoga Academy. It's located in the heart of Chapel Street in Melbourne, with daily yoga and Pilates classes, as well as yoga teacher training to get you prepared to step onto the other side of the mat. Whether you're here to be a teacher or not, you can come to the Australian Yoga Academy and find something for you. They also house Reiki, osteo, and physiotherapy, and they're really just revolutionizing the way that we look at our bodies and also connect together as a community. Whether you're a beginner or a daily yogi, the Australian Yoga Academy has something for you. The Dive podcast is also filmed here and houses our sound therapy sessions each and every Monday. To receive up to 28 days of unlimited yoga and Pilates, go onto their website, www.australianyogaacademy.com, today to check out their generous intro offers for yourself. Now, that's enough from me. Let's get back to the episode. Going back into where we were talking about, the kind of unknown of what happens backstage and everything. Being a swing myself, it's always unknown what's going to happen that day. Is there anything you do kind of like within your day that helps you manage that unknown? Does it like give you stress, or is it...
No. Look, I'm a big proponent of doing things, having something outside of work. And it doesn't really matter. Like I do CrossFit, which is ruining my body, my rickety old body. But I'm 42 years old, and barely hanging on. But definitely that's the one. I do that, and I have gyms all around the country that I go to. So once the show's open in any city, it's one of the first places I go. And that's one thing I do for myself each day. And whether that's, yoga, meditation, whatever it is, reading, watching TV, whatever it is, just have something that you do for yourself. Because if you're too encompassed, it takes enough of your life doing, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. So you've got to definitely have something that's completely opposite.
Yeah. And I guess like working out, and you're not only physically somewhere, but you're moving your body, and that's releasing endorphins, and you're feeling good about yourself, and as well just working towards something that is, like you said, not necessarily the show, but it's still progressing you in your own way. Yeah,
and I mean, look, it does help me. Being fit and active helps me do my job as well, because sometimes we're pushing set around in rehearsals, we don't, because the automation operators aren't in or whatever it is. So you do need to be fairly fit and active.
If anyone wants to get into stage managing, what would be their first way to go about it?
Well, I think there's definitely some good. We would always try and have work experience or interns. If you were at either of the big institutions, whether it be WAPA, VCA, NIDA, there's big sort of training institutions. There are also a lot of unis offer it. Other unis offer it now as well.
Is it a stage managing course, or is it
It's more of a production course at most, but then you can kind of specialise in stage management. So, you can do lighting. People I went to NIDA with now are lighting designers, but your production managers, or a lot of people who don't do it at all. I think audition for those institutions would be a good start, or just get your foot in the door. You don't necessarily have to train. I think if you've got the right kind of head on your shoulders, I think it's approaching the production companies. So whether it be Michael Castle Group, they've just announced a work experience placement program. So they'll put students, I think quite young students, sort of like 15, 16, 17, high school age students, to try and get the next generation of people into the industry.
That's great.
You've got Michael Castle Group, you've got Crossroads Live, it's another production house. Louise Withers and Associates is another production house. That's just a small handful of the people who are producing shows. Obviously Global Creatures, who did Moulin Rouge, they do a great thing as well in Moulin Rouge called Get Technical. So there are sort of avenues, and I think after COVID there's a bit of a lack of crews in the country. So there's definitely openings for people to get in. But just have that experience, get your foot in the door. I think once you've got your foot in the door, don't be annoying. Listen, don't think you know everything. I don't know if it's generational, I don't want to sound like an old fart. But
no, well, I think it's the same for for performers that have
Yes,
just
you
come
just
out of
gotta-
full-time
yeah.
or, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and yes, you've gotten to that point in your course or whatever it is, or you've got this opportunity, but now just don't blow it. Like, just listen and be a sponge. Listen to everything.
And you can only learn so much in a course. Every time I've gone into even the next show, it's completely different.
Yeah,
you know?
and it will be different. As you know, as I said, that forming of that company, and each company is going to have its own personalities and intricacies and all of that. So yeah, I think pop the phone down. Don't listen. Don't watch the YouTube.
That's it.
This YouTube. Just put the phone down and just absorb and listen to the people who are giving you this opportunity. Yeah? Because those experiences, if you're in the right place at the right time, that is what a lot of my career has been. You know, you are able to then, if you make a good impression on someone and then they're putting together a team, then that person will call you and use you. That's as simple as that.
Very quickly.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're good at what you do, there is a reputation that you get, and your reputation will precede you, and you hopefully will keep booking jobs. And that's on stage and off stage. It's all the same. It's all just about doing a good job and being passionate. Again, same things, but yeah, definitely getting in the door. That's what I think.
Get into it.
Yeah, and then being able to be taught and all of those sorts of
and
things
adapt
as well.
and
Adapt, yes. And that's stage management. That's all that it is. It's adapting to changes in schedule and all of those sorts of things.
Well, watching you guys work as well, just seeing how much change happened from cast changes to all of that, it just is crazy.
Then on the days, I'm a big proponent as well of, like, if someone calls out of the show or is sick or injured or whatever it is, I just try and tell the swings and as soon as I possibly can, so that you then would know as early as possible. You're not lauding information. Like, the biggest thing as a stage manager is communication. You just need to tell everybody everything, and even if they don't want to hear it, just tell them again, just so that everybody knows, because then you know what you're coming in for, and that might change as well. You've had that as well. You're on for this, and now you're on for this, and you're swapping mid-show. And the best swings definitely are the people who are able to adapt to that.
Yeah,
and it's the same. You've either got a swing brain or you don't.
And sometimes, unfortunately, you don't find out until you do it.
But I mean, even still, I think some swings that we've worked with, it's just, again, being adaptable. Whether you may swing once and may never swing again, but it's an experience and it's a skill. Absolutely, being a good swing, you'll never stop working.
Yeah,
that's the hardest job, and I think it's the most fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I guess once you get into it and then you go back to a show doing one role, it's really hard because you just get restless really easy, because you went from, I ended up covering, I don't even know how many people I went on for. I think it was like 18 in the end.
Yes, easily.
Girls.
COVID.
That's it. And so when you go back to a role in itself, it's kind of like, oh, now can I do anything else?
Yeah, you've got to have a little sound bath.
Sound bath, that's
sound
it.
Bath on, have a healing. Relax. But also that's when people do get restless in shows too. And I mean, that can be part of the problem. So then we try and do fun little things like, little silly games over the tannoy of the backstage paging system. Something funny like that keeps people engaged in a way that's...
Especially in a long contract as well.
Yeah, you've got
to come up with ways.
Yeah. But again, the other side of that is make sure you have your days off. Make sure you do things for yourself on the days off, so you're not just hanging around. That's definitely a balance there of your own time.
Is there anything else that you do on your days off as well?
Oh, it's tough when you work 6 days a week. By the time, if you have a little drink on Sunday night and you want to have a little sleep in, then your day's almost gone. You do.
I mean, some days you're blessed with 2 days.
Sometimes, yes. But you do 3 loads of washing and go to the supermarket, and then that's it.
That's it.
And then you go back to work. But yeah, once the show's been running for a while and you've got all your covers and everyone's sort of been on, then you will just have show calls. So then it backs off. Towards the end of Poppins, we weren't rehearsing really at all because everyone had been on and were going on with enough frequency, so you didn't really need to rehearse. Groundhog Day's short. It's only 3 months the season, so we'll be doing our first set of covers next week in week 3 or 4, I think it will be, and then we'll do a second set of covers, and then it's almost time to close.
Oh my goodness!
So that'll be rehearsals almost constantly, but
that's tricky with shorter length shows. Is so much work goes into it, and then finish. But sometimes they're fun as well because it's just short and sweet, and you get it done.
And it's very, that's the one reason I wanted to do Groundhog Day, because it's such a special show, and it's magical. It's very simple in terms of the theatre making of it, but it also it makes you think and it makes you cry, it makes you laugh. So it's like doing those ones, they don't come up very often. Poppins was not similar to that. Just a beautiful show and told really well, and that makes you think and perfect. That's the dream.
It's the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Love it. I ask this to everyone who comes onto the show, and that's basically if you had to give yourself some advice for when you were starting your career in stage managing, what would it be?
Oh no, I was perfect. No, I've already said, it's just, listen, I think the lack of ego, you just have to get rid of your ego. That's across all facets of the performing arts.
Did you find you had a little bit of that when you were starting? Or
Of course, because it's suffered from that. I think everyone does, because of what I touched on before as well, is that you get to the top level of your institution, you're a third year in your degree or whatever you are, and you think you know exactly what's going on, and then you go into the industry. That would be the advice. Just like look back at my secondment on Lion King, and I was like, I was probably an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. But I mean, just check the ego at the door.
Check the ego.
You've got to have ego. I think we all have ego at some point, but it's just about how you manage that. It can't overrun you. You have ego because you want to do a good job, and all of those parts of that ego that are healthy, but just those unhealthy parts of ego, I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice. Just try and pop that away, dear.
Pop that away, dear.
Pop it away. We don't need that. And kindness, that's I think, again, part of the success, but just be kind to people, be nice to people. Just treat people with kindness, try and make people laugh. Don't take it too seriously, because it's just a show.
Yeah.
It's just a play.
That's running for so long, it's not your whole life.
And then it's gone like that. Like Poppins, it was such a close-knit group, which was rare, but then now it's gone. And you still catch up. That first time that happens to you, the first time you do a show and you do get scattered to the winds, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But
it's like going through a breakup.
Yeah, and now for me, I'm like,
bye, doll.
See you later. Get out.
Get out, doll. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
It's been awesome chatting to you. And if anyone has questions for Luke or myself, you can email us at info@thedive.com.au.
Yes. Send questions in. I'm happy to, of course, answer whatever.
Yeah.
Any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, doll.
Ta-da, doll.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode on the Dive Podcast. If you loved this episode, please leave a review, comment, and share it with a friend, as who knows, maybe this is the exact episode your friend needs to gain a bit more emotional stability, physical stability, and mental stability. If you haven't already, go and check out our website at www.thedive.com.au. We have free resources on there. We have a blog post that I send out every single week, talking on topics on financial stability, on how to identify your strengths and weaknesses as a performer, why you get fatigued and how to combat that. A whole plethora of knowledge at your fingertips. And of course, we have heaps of other episodes that you can go and listen to right now. I hope to see you on the next one.